All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Void Century One Piece podcast. I'm Ed here with Adam, and today we have episode 12, and we're going over chapter 978 titled Introducing the Toby Roppo. All right, so getting right to it. We start off seeing the Polar Tang submerge into water, and they're getting ready to depart to enact the plan. The Scabbards and Law are on the Polar Tang, and Law still looks pretty disgruntled having these pirates on his ship. He doesn't want them. We see the rest of the rebels begin their attack on Onigashima, and by that I just mean they're going to Onigashima, and there's a shamisen playing in the background. And Kinemon rallies the forces. Kinemon questions Denjiro's skills after all of these years just because obviously he hasn't seen them. And Denjiro replies, if he had not, there would be no meaning to live. So obviously he's been keeping up with his swordplay. Luffy and Kid seem surprised upon arriving to Onigashima, and we get a large two-page spread. And this is some great artwork. Like, first off, we have the giant skull, which I still think is a real Oni or whatever race that is, and they're just living inside of it. And why I say that is because there's a giant sword right next to the skull. Only something of that size could be able to wield that sword. The decoration is pretty cool. There's like a fox statue in the middle of a lake, and there's like these like different Oni statues, Oni head statues with water pouring out of them and going into the lake. And they got a bunch of like lampposts and lanterns hanging off of different things, including the giant sword, the giant katana. And like these lampposts and other posts are just kind of like all crooked. They're not standing straight. It's just all kind of hectic. It's not organized. It's just messy, but it looks cool. And I think that there's some like sakura flowers on some trees, but there's like snow on top of it. I'm not sure. Everyone that arrived there was just kind of like stunned. We can see the Beast Pirates just partying. They obviously do not know that there's an invasion coming, so that means that Kanjuro did not get there yet to warn them. Kinemon remarks on how unworried they are. So yeah, he's also wondering if Kanjuro's intel got to Orochi. There's more hope now because the sneak attack is actually still possible. We see Sanji remark on Kaido's castle being in the back of the island, and Zoro says that the speed is of the essence for the sneak attack. Usopp spots guards, and those guards actually spot the pirate ship or the ships coming in. And they're like, huh? And they're like all drunk too. They're just like, huh? What? Why are there ships? There shouldn't be ships. Should there? No one said anything about ships. And then Usopp hits them with some like sleep tranquilizer dart, and then they're all just sleeping. So then once they get there, they're starting to land and port onto Onigashima, and they're talking about what they're gonna do with the like pirate ships, like their ships once they're ported, because obviously the Beast Pirates, once they see the ships, they're gonna be like, oh, that's not right, and they're gonna be aware. So Kinemon just decides to slash them up in half and sink the ships upon porting because they want to be sneaky, and they're like, we don't need these to get back. So like that kind of goes two parts of like he's confident that they're gonna win, or he's confident that they're not gonna win. Either way, they don't need boats to return home. Obviously, especially Frankie, but the rest of the Straw Hat crews are very, very shocked by this revelation. They're like, we don't want to lose the Sunny. And Jinbei's like, no, it's okay. Like, we can go back and hide it. There's like enough for like a few amount of ships to hide. Don't worry about it. Brooke comments on how resolute the samurai are because they're gonna win or die, and there's nothing less when you're gonna challenge an emperor. So that's pretty cool. And then Chopper comments on the amount of beast pirates that are on the shore. We see all the samurai are just now magically disguised as beast pirates. And it's funny because we see the kid pirates dressed as beast pirates, and Killer is doing his fwa fwa laugh, kind of like in shock probably, but he can't really display that anymore. He only has one emotion, and that's laugh. So yeah, poor Killer. So yeah, Kinemon talks about he's using his Garb Fruit's like basically ultimate power, which is creating a little like archway for people to walk through, and they'll all be changed into clothing, new clothing. So in this case, everyone's just changed into the same Beast Pirate outfit. I mean, very similar. Like there's a little minor differences between Luffy and Nami. Oh, by the way, Nami changes into her skimpy outfit, and of course Sanji is swooning. Normal Sanji stuff. But yeah, the archway technique, Kinemon calls it the Kin's Clothing Company, and he tells the kid pirates that they're strong and to attack as they wish, but there are many beast pirates, so they need to stay disguised. That'll be tricky just because the abilities do wear off if the clothing gets damaged, so they just got to be careful to not take too much damage. It's not gonna stay on. I think that's really kind of alluding to people's disguises are going to be revealed, so it's a little bit of foreshadowing. And yeah, so the samurai are resolved, and yeah, next we see the beast pirates.
Yeah, we fly into a shot of Onigashima, and you see like the huge skull there. Everybody's like stomping around. You see somebody shouting for, or cheering for Queen, actually. And you see Kaido and Orochi are both transformed into their mythical Zoan fruits, and they're just chilling. We get a shot of Apu DJing. So I guess this is the party that's going down in Onigashima right now. We see everybody like hanging out. We see all the girls cheering for Queen, and Queen's just sitting up front, and he's singing, and he's telling everybody if he gets any thinner, skinnier, smaller, he won't be as sexy. So he chooses to eat and be fat so as to keep himself funky. So he's like going ahead and like emceeing this huge party at Onigashima. He's screaming into the microphone, yelling at all the other groups, so like the waiters. So we see like the waiters there, and Oda reminds us that those are people on the crew that are waiting for Smile Devil Fruits, and they cheer back. We see the pleasures. They get cheered on next. Again, those are people who took on Smile Devil Fruits, but they failed. So they just chill with the crew anyway and just laugh. And then we have the gifters, which are people who were bestowed Smile Devil Fruits, and they're cheering and yelling. And then Queen calls out the headliners, and they all cheer back with their drinks. And then we see Queen, and he calls out to the Tobi Roppo to absolute silence. And Queen's like, oh man, those guys are punks. They never answer back anyways. They never participate with us. And then ignore those arrogant punks. Like, where are the monsters? Where are the numbers? And we see like the whole castle start rumbling. Then Queen starts calling out Orochi's forces, and he goes with the Mimiwari Gumi, which I believe is a samurai group that we haven't seen before. And then he calls out the Oniwa Banshu, and we see Orochi kind of hanging out all drunk with his courtesans. And then Queen starts calling out Big Mom's kids, and we don't get to see if they cheer back. So we do see a shady person sitting around talking about how Queen's so obnoxious, and we see they have their mouth covered. And she continues to go on that they're calling the Tobi Roppo arrogant punks. So we can only assume that these are the Tobi Roppo. And we see that they all have horns, and they're basically talking about how Queen has, the nerve to call them arrogant and punks. And then we see another figure in silhouette, and we see them all bickering with each other, and they're all kind of like fighting amongst each other and like calling each other nicknames and like teasing each other. And then we see a shot of somebody's face wearing a mask, smoking a cigarette, and they say, well, if Queen was to die tonight, who would be the next lead performer, i.e. like the next member of Kaido's commanders? So we see them talking amongst themselves, and they're like, oh, well, it's only obvious if he would die, you'd be the person who would want power. And then we see a shot of X-Drake's face saying he has no interest in replacing Queen if something were to happen to him. And then they're like, oh, well, if you're dropping out as a candidate, and this other one is so weak, then that means that we would be able to seize power more easily. And then we get a shot of all their faces, and we see that these are the headliners. So to start off, we have a small girl named Ulti with horns, and we see Page 1 with his face covered. We see a guy in a mask with horns above his head, almost looking like a bull smoking a cigarette. We see a girl with her tongue out with horns and these daggers in her hair. She's gigantic. We see X-Drake, and we see a fishman with a cape and flames, and he's wearing what can only be assumed is like a big leather trucker cap. And they're arguing amongst themselves, and Ulti, Page 1's sister, says, if you insult Page 1 one more time, I'll break you in two. And then Page 1's like, stop it, sis. And she's like, oh, did you order me to stop? And then we see who's who is like, you little brats are so annoying with your screeching. Black Maria, who is the giant lady that has the daggers in her hair, and she's like, oh, I really love it when she snaps at everyone. And then we see X-Drake just sitting around, and he's like, why'd they call us here? Just to make us wait. And we see the fishman, and he's like, oh, they said it's urgent. And when Kaido says it's urgent, it means it's only one thing. And they're all like, oh man, that means Kaido's son's gone missing again. And then they're like, oh my god, is Kaido stupid? And then they're like, hey, stop, you can't say stuff like that. And then that's the chapter ending at the reveal of the Tobi Roppo. And just to remind everybody, we are on break next week. So there's no chapter next week. I believe it's Golden Week in Japan. So Ed, what did you think of the chapter?
Yeah, I liked it. Like, it's just kind of a setup chapter. Like, to me, the most exciting thing was the introduction of the Toby Ropo, the Flying Six, and also the Queen moment where he's emceeing. It's just really fun. But yeah, I kind of wanted to start off by going over the Toby Ropo just because that's the new that everyone's all hype about right now. So yeah, first off, I will say all of the Flying Six have horns except for X-Drake, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure if that's because of their double fruit or what, because I mean, obviously Sasaki is a fishman, but fishmen normally don't have horns, so it's not natural. And same with these other human-looking people, they all have horns.
Yeah, I think that points out that X-Drake, I think it's a subtle nod to the fact that he's a betrayer, or maybe it could be from some way that they actually got their power from being on Kaido's crew. Because before we go all over them, the fact that they were just sitting around arguing about taking power and who's stronger than who, and who would be the next commander if one of them were to take Queen out. I think it only goes to show that they're only allied because of power, and I think that's one of the only things that they respect.
Yeah, true. And also it kind of alludes to how powerful they are. It seems like they are, probably under Queen power level, maybe around Jack power level. I think that it's obvious to me that X-Drake is the strongest of all of the Toby Ropo just because he's the immediate successor to Queen in their mind, even though he doesn't want it. So if X-Drake is successor to the Queen, I don't know how succession works in the Beast Pirates, but you'd think that he would go to Jack, not jump to Queen.
Something interesting I just noted in the chapter too. If you look at the waiters, they don't have any horns. The pleasures, they have one horn, and then the gifters, they have horns. So maybe you get your horns when Kaido bestows power upon you.
Ooh, I like that idea.
So maybe even the numbers have horns too. So maybe the Toby Ropo themselves, because X-Drake, we know that he was recruited outside of the Beast Pirates. He wasn't always a Beast Pirate. Like he had his power before he met up with Kaido and the Beast Pirates. These other people we don't know.
Yeah, so another interesting thing is some of the Toby Ropo, at least, some of them have black horns and some of them have white horns, whereas all the pleasures and waiters, they all have black horns. It looks like, at least. But yeah, so I just kind of want to go over a little bit. So page 1, he has 2 different colored horns. He's kind of got like a black and white type of deal going on where one of his horns is white, one of his horns is black, and he also has like a little hat kind of similar to, I don't know, maybe like Law's hat, but not really. It's just two-tone instead of, with dots. But it's split in half, black and white. The colors are the same side as the white horn and black horn. And then also he has like a face mask that's also split in half, black and white. And then for contrast, he has hair going over his right eye, which is, his hair is black, but that's the typical white side of his outfit and horns. So it kind of like has a little bit of a checkered pattern effect, which is kind of cool. It's a cool design. And then also his sister Ulti has black and white hair as well. It's kind of like, it's mostly black with stripes of white. I think that's like one of the ways that Oda is denoting that they're related, is that they kind of have this black and white theme going on. But yeah, when page 1 is in his hybrid form, Spinosaurus hybrid form, he doesn't have horns anymore, but he still has that black hair covering his right eye. I just found it interesting that once he transformed, he didn't have horns anymore.
Queen doesn't have horns though. I'm just trying to think of other people that we've seen with horns that have transformed.
Yeah, I can't remember. Does Jack have horns?
Jack has horns, but when he goes into his mammoth form, he doesn't have horns. He has his tusks.
He does have horns. I'm looking at an image right now. He also has horns still. Yeah, he does.
When he transforms?
Yeah, he does. It actually looks pretty badass because it's like 4 horns basically because he has tusks and horns. It's really cool looking.
Oh, I didn't remember that. Oh, that's super sweet. I think that maybe the color of their horns has significance too. I think because page 1's pretty prominent with the white and the black horn, and his sister and Sasaki both have pure white horns. I think that might be denoting like their devil fruit type. So we know page 1's an ancient zone. Maybe the white horns are mythical zones.
Yeah, I think that most likely all of these have some sort of zone though, because they're, beast pirates. So I'm thinking that they're all likely going to be mythical or ancient zones, I think. I mean, I'm leaning towards ancient just because dinosaur theme. Also, another thing about the Flying Six that I want to mention is that each one is based off of a card game, typically. Except for X-Drake, I think. At least I'm not aware of one. Maybe we'll find out later on, but I'm not aware of one. But Page One is a card game. Ulti is a card game, and I don't remember what country I looked it up, but it's a card game for sure. Who's Who, I believe, is a variation on the game Guess Who, and you use cards to say, do you have this card? No. Well, that's more Go Fish, but you know what I mean. It's you say like, does your person have hair? Yes or no, and then you flip down the ones that don't have hair if they say yes. So yeah. Anyway, that's Who's Who, and then Black Mariah is another like card game. Sasaki, that one I could not find a card game for directly, but indirectly there is a Japanese game maker, board and card game maker named Jun Sasaki who has made card games. So that one's kind of a stretch, but overall, the rest of them, other than X-Drake and Sasaki, maybe they all have card game motifs. I guess you want to go over your theory on what that means.
Yeah, Oda's kind of layering it. I think like the top end of the Beast Pirates, so you have the numbers, which are like the number cards. You have King, Queen, and Jack, which are like the upper echelons, the suit cards. And then you have the headliners, which are like the games you play. And I feel like Kaido is the gambler because you have Joker as well. So I just find it really interesting. Perhaps, maybe we see that Page One and X Drake both have numbers in their name. I believe that these numbers might portray some kind of significance. I like to believe that X Drake is the strongest of the Flying Six, and maybe Page One is the weakest. Now, we don't have a lot of evidence to base that on, except that X Drake is a supernova, so we know that he's mad strong. Kaido wouldn't have recruited him and threw him up into the Tobi Roppo unless he was super strong. And we see Drake doesn't have horns, so he didn't have his power bestowed to him by Kaido. He was just really strong. And we see Page One. We've already seen him transform. He was kind of like our introduction into the Flying Six, and we've seen him already spar with Sanji. Sanji's very strong. Page One's pretty strong, but since that we've already seen Page One's abilities, and Oda's already showed that to us, I don't think Page One can get totally a lot stronger than what we've already seen. So I just think it's kind of interesting, because if X Drake is the strongest of the Tobi Roppo, when they actually reveal that he's a betrayer, it's really going to hurt Kaido's power that much more.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Page One likely being one of the weaker of the Tobi Roppo, and Ulti probably is stronger just because just her tone to her brother. I understand there's that brother-sister sibling dynamic, but still, I think that I'm getting the vibes that she's going to be more powerful than him.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that she's like, oh, I'll snap on all these other guys, and Page One's like, no, sis, stop it. Like, you don't want to snap. And then we have like Black Maria in the background kind of like egging her on, and she's like, oh yeah, I love it when she snaps. Meaning like probably during battle, she's got like uncontrollable rage, which just brings out like her monstrous power.
Another interesting thing to point out about Ulti and Page One is both of them are wearing little face masks. And they're kind of dressed more towards each of their themes. Page One being the alternating colors, half and half, black and white. And then Ulti being, it's more like girly. So Ulti is kind of wearing, I think the best way for me to describe it is she's dressed like Little Red Riding Hood. I don't think that her colors are going to be red. I'm not sure what her colors are going to be just because we're in black and white. But yeah, she looks like she could be Little Red Riding Hood in terms of the clothes she's wearing, other than her dress being shorter than what Little Red Riding Hood would wear.
And she has high heels.
And she has high heels, yeah. But other than that, she's got like a little cloak that's tied in a little bow around her, like with laces around her neck, her chest area. So it's just really, she's dressed really cute, but also she looks scary because she has horns and she has like a angry expression and demeanor.
To me, yeah, it almost looks like she could be in like business attire with like a cape on, and she just has that face covering. So like we don't see too much from her, but I would imagine that she's pretty strong just given the reaction of all the other members. So like which of the members of the Tobi Roppo are you like least impressed by?
Well, I just want to go back to the face mask. I wonder what it's covering. I wouldn't be surprised if they have like similar looking mouths. Like we remember with Katakuri, he has like that mouth thing going on with like it's elongated and it's not.
Yeah, that pelican eel mouth.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if they have some sort of special mouth as well that they're covering, or some sort of ability that they are covering so that people don't know about it. I'm not sure. We did see Page One without the face mask when he transformed, so I'm not sure, but I feel like there's some sort of secret with it. Or it might just be a design choice. But yeah, I feel like there might be a secret with it. Sorry, what was your question again? Sorry.
I think he has dino teeth. I was just saying, which of the members of the Toby Ropo are you least impressed by in terms of design?
Design-wise? I guess it would be Sasaki. Between Sasaki and Ulti, I guess. Ulti just looks cute, not threatening, and Sasaki, I mean, he's just a generic fishman to me. He's got like fire decals on his cloak and his pants, but
I think he's super cool. His look reminds me of like a biker, like a rock star from like the 70s or 80s. In terms of
like Hell's Angel maybe.
yeah, totally. I think I'm least impressed by like who's who. He just looks like he looks like a bull to me, like a minotaur. And I'm just like, it's like an overused trope.
So I like Who's Who. So let me go over Who's Who's design. So first off, he's got like a tattoo on his chest, and it's got like a little eye on it, and there's text underneath the eye that says Who's Who. So three of the Flying Six members that we know of have their name tattooed on their chest: Page One, X Drake, and Who's Who. So that's pretty interesting. And then his outfit, it really reminds me of Tony Montana from Scarface. And because of that, I love it. Because I love Scarface. I think Tony Montana is super badass, super cool. He's a bad guy, but he just reeks of coolness. And this outfit reminds me of that. So to me, it just looks really cool. Also, he's got one thing that's different from Tony Montana is he's got like a giant belt on, and it's almost like the size of like one of those like WWE like championship belts. I mean, it's not that big, but it's almost that big. It's just a massive like circular one. It's got a lot of designs on it. And
yeah, he's super cool. I actually like his outfit kind of, but compared to everybody else, I'm not really impressed. It looks like a typical like 70s like I'm going to a club kind of outfit, like open with like the huge tips on like the collared shirt. I think it's cool, but compared to everybody else, I'm not really impressed. I feel like Page One's look is almost like bikerish too, because it's just the helmet. He's got kind of like the fluted out helmet with like the horns stuck on the sides, kind of like, you know, biker gangs.
oh, I thought that the hat was made out of cloth, but I guess it could be helmet. I'm not sure now.
Yeah, it looks like a helmet to me.
And then also I wanted to point out with Who's Who, he's the only one here who has a katana that I can see at least.
Is he a long leg? He seems abnormally tall, but I can't tell whether or not he's a long leg. But his legs are pretty freaking long.
He's got freakishly long legs. He's definitely got the longest legs in the group. I mean, other than Black Mariah, but that doesn't count. Like, proportionally, his legs are the longest, and then Ulti has the second longest, I'd say. But yeah, I could see that. Like, he is very tall. I think that he's probably the third tallest after Black Mariah and then Sasaki.
I think it's interesting that, so we have a giant and a fishman, and we might have like a long leg tribe member. So pretty much.
So do you think that Black Mariah is a giant?
Upon first glance, yeah. I mean, she's huge. I mean, she's pinning up her hair with swords.
Yeah, so let's go. I'm gonna go over Black Mariah. So she might be Shirahoshi size. She's probably not Shirahoshi size. She's probably like a little smaller, just because Shirahoshi is massive. So Black Mariah, maybe she might be Neptune size. Like, she's very large. She's definitely larger than anyone else.
Oh, I like to say that I like to imagine that in this panel that we're seeing, they're kind of like on a second floor of the castle, and you could see kind of like the balcony behind them. And I like to imagine that Black Maria is kind of like a lower level, but like she's so big that like her top half is up there.
I think that's exactly what's going on, yeah. So yeah, anyway, she's massive. She's got giant, I mean, to her, they're daggers in her hair and like little sticks, and it's decorative, but also I'm sure that in a pinch, she'll use them to fight. Like, we're gonna have one of those moments when she's fighting where she's gonna have like a I'm going serious moment, and she lets her hair down and takes the daggers out. And
Ooh.
yeah, it's gonna be pretty badass, I think. So yeah, she's kind of dressed like a Japanese courtesan, so very exposed cleavage, kind of like in a robe outfit. She's got a smoking pipe, so again, that's kind of a courtesan type thing where a lot of times they'd be like smoking opium or something else. So that's kind of her look, as like a high class courtesan. And then the last one I'll go over, I'm skipping over X Drake's look just because I think everyone's familiar enough and his design hasn't changed enough. The last one that I want to talk about is Sasaki, who fishman. He's got kind of like a sailor captain's hat on. He's got white horns. He's got fire decals both on his cloak and his pants. I think fire decals are lame. He doesn't have a shirt on, and he's got like shoulder tattoos. It's that lead into his chest and back and yeah, almost to his biceps too. And
Yeah, his tribal tattoos kind of remind me of Kaidos, like his skill tattoos.
yeah, yeah. Unlike the other tattoos in the Flying Six that we've seen, his do not spell out his name, so that's a difference. And yeah, I think that's it for going over their designs at least.
Yeah, I think they're pretty cool, but talking about like their power levels, I believe that they're very strong, but not the strongest members of the crew. I'm impressed to see what they do, but I haven't seen enough of them to be like totally blown away by them. I like their character designs, but again, like this is the first time we're seeing them. I do find it interesting that their mission is to recruit Kaido's son, kind of like corral him and get him back. I find that to be pretty interesting. What's your take on that?
Yeah, and that also kind of leads more credence to Kaido's son being kind of a black sheep. It could also be that maybe they're taught like Kaido's son is Oven, and they're trying to recruit him back onto the Beast Pirates from Big Mom's Pirates, because we do know that Oven's on the island, so that's still a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, totally a possibility. I like to believe that Kaido called in the Tobi Roppo for like two reasons. Either they're like really strong and his son's really strong, so in order to like corral him, they have to be like super strong to like be able to like subdue him. And then I also like to believe that maybe one of the members has like a connection to his son and can kind of like talk him out of it and bring him around.
Yeah, I think that that's certainly possible. Also, I'm looking at an older panel, and it's just Orochi with a bunch of women just surrounding him and cuddling him. Like, oh, he's just so skeezy. And he's also like twice the size of them. Like, I think that Orochi's head is the size of these women that he's with.
Most definitely.
I didn't realize how big Orochi was, yeah. Okay, so I guess we can move on. So we were like right about a theory, so clap, 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 pat on the back for us. And the theory was it was an obvious one, but whatever. It was that Kinemon was gonna use his ability to outfit the army. Like we didn't know exactly how he would do it. Like that archway is genius, and we didn't know exactly what the clothes were gonna be because we were thinking more so like it was gonna be like armor and stuff. But still, like it's cool that Kinemon's devil fruit is coming to some good use now, and yeah, I mean it's nice learning more about his devil fruit too and the limits of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a super OP fruit, and I think it's going to be proved to be invaluable, especially when all the forces are storming the mountains that the Beast Pirates occupy, and that most of the Beast Pirates are drunk, so they're probably not going to recognize like who the saboteurs are unless they show up to the party and they're not cheering for their respective groups.
Yeah, and also I liked how we basically Queen went over Kaido's alliances lineup. I mean, we actually did this last week too in our podcast, our last episode, but we missed one of them that Queen announced, which is Orochi's elite samurai, the Mimo Warigumi. So that's just one faction that we did not talk about last week, but the other ones were really covered. And yeah, I'm glad that we actually got most of them except for one. That's actually pretty good on us too. And also I'm glad that Oda is setting this up again, just because it's hard to keep track of everything as readers. So like if you're like us and obsessed with One Piece, you still might not remember everything. Like I personally do not remember everything. Adam is the one who remembers everything. Like so like people like Adam, they'll remember, but people like me or even more casual fans, we need this to be done. So thank you, Oda, for letting us know who the players are again.
I have to confess, I didn't even remember who the Mimi Warigumi were. I'm not even sure if they were ever introduced, to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about it either, but if you think about it, it makes sense just because there's still samurai around. They can't all just be Yakuza. So it's probably just a group of samurai that decided that they're going to go with the power in the land and not stay loyal to the Kurozumi family.
Kozukis.
The Kozuki family. Sorry. I always mix, dude. I'm so bad with it. They both start with a K. They both end with an I. They both have the same syllables.
There's a Z in there somewhere. I get it. Suzuki good. Zumi bad.
Oh yeah. So the next is, where is Conjuro?
I have no idea. In my head canon, I like to imagine that flying away on that swan during that storm, he got struck by lightning. But Momo's on the swan too, so Momo can't get struck by lightning. So I'd like to imagine that Conjuro is going to show up and Orochi's going to be so drunk that he's, one, either going to be angry that Conjuro's messing this all up, or two, he's going to have he's just going to ignore him completely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to believe that Conjuro is going to come up at a pivotal moment to turn the tides. I think that right now they're getting a sneak attack. Like everyone's drunk, nobody's ready for battle. Everyone's in like a party mood.
It's too easy.
And like, yeah, it's gonna be really easy. And I think that, yeah, Conjuro's gonna come in to turn the tides, be like, yo, I actually have Momo now and you're gonna have to stop if you still want him alive, and he's gonna turn the tide.
I can see that. That also might call in for like the big tragedy when the next arc starts, or the ending of this arc. Again, I know a little bit about the structure Kabuki plays, but the intricacies, when we start discussing it, I don't know how necessarily the structure fits into Wano. All I know is that something bad's gonna happen.
I just know that it can't be like, one thing that we can rule out the tragedy will not be Momo dying, because he is a little kid. I do not see Oda killing a child.
Yeah, I don't see Oda killing a child either. Also, we know that at the end of this story, at the end of this arc, Wano is going to be safe and the Kozukis are going to rule over it because plot armor, right? And in order to do that, Momo has to stay alive.
Exactly.
In terms of tragedy, though, I think it might be the moment maybe where Kanjuro shows up and they throw Momo in like the dungeon, and then all the intel is revealed, and suddenly like Kanjuro's fruit, for whatever reason, like the disguises don't work anymore, so they no longer have the element of surprise.
Yeah, and I was brushing up on that earlier, but yeah, there's definitely going to be a point where they're going to be revealed early, I think, like earlier than planned. I think that the sneak attack, there will be successes with it, but I think that also there will be failures with the covert side of things, and they will be caught at some point. We don't know when, but the fact that it's so easily, the magic of the devil fruit is dispelled, that it's going to be hard to keep your disguise, you know? Especially when you're in combat.
Yeah, Kinemon had to touch on it for a reason, right? He had to be like, here, let me spell out the name of my fruit. By the way, the name of his fruit, in case it wasn't discussed previously, is the Garb fruit. So he's like, hey, let me discuss my devil fruit weaknesses with you guys, because somehow they're going to come into play in the story. So I believe at least the Straw Hats are going to get battled enough that their clothes are going to fall off. Not in a fan service-y kind of way, but their disguises.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if, because Kinemon never said that before when he uses devil fruit, and I'm thinking that the way that he used it this time with the arch has more limitations than if he did it directly on a person. That's just my guess. I'm not sure.
I agree with that. It's like a AoE.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it could be just a nerfed version of his normal ability just because he's using it on more people, or it could just be that's how his ability always works. I'm not sure, but right now I'm leaning towards it's because it's a little bit nerfed due to the amount of people he's using it on.
Do you think he could make himself armor to fight with? Like armor that could take a blow that he can maybe infuse with his haki?
You know, I think he could if he used it just on himself. I think that it would. Well, actually, I'm not sure. Like, I feel like the disguise fruit really, or the garb fruit really plays on that Japanese like tanuki magic, where they can use like a leaf and have magic to have the appearance of certain types of clothes on. That is easy to dispel once the leaf is removed. I believe that that's what it's based on, so I'm not sure.
Hold on. I think you're getting it confused. I think he's based off the Kitsune because he's Foxfire Kinemon, which is also a yokai that uses disguises and trickery magic.
Okay, yeah. Kitsune, yeah. Not the
Tanuki, but
not the Tanuki.
I would like to imagine, so the way his fruit's structured right now is that it's a support ability. Kinemon is the leader of the 9 Red Scabbards, right? So he needs to have an offensive ability as well. So I believe that he would be able to use his ability in his own fights to have some benefit, because just making yourself armor if it can't get damaged, there's no point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm leaning towards his ability normally is easily dispelled at this point, just because Fox trickery, and I think that his offensive ability is just going to be his natural sword power. Also, him talking to just sidetrack a little, him talking to Denjiro about his swordsmanship and like if he still got it. It makes me think that Kinemon and Denjiro might actually be pretty like rivals in terms of power still to this day. Like I'm thinking that Denjiro, if he's stronger, won't be that much stronger, or vice versa.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're pretty similarly on the same level. I just know that Denjiro's had 20 years longer to train than Kanjuro has. But it's possible that they could be on the same level and that they were like sparring partners back in the day. I mean, they were Odin's followers for the longest, so it only makes sense that they like teach each other techniques and like spar with each other.
Yeah, I think it would be close like Luffy and Zoro are close, where it's like it could go either way once in a while, but like usually it would be Denjiro winning, that type of thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Denjiro's just got the rage on his side. Kinemon's got the clothes.
Kinemon is probably a little bit more finesse of a fighter and more like, and the thing about martial arts in general, so sword fighting I would consider a type of martial art. You gotta have patience, you gotta have chill, because if you are impatient and you kind of get overzealous with your fighting and let your emotions control you too much, it's going to get in the way of making good decisions for fighting and get you into bad problems. So that could be Denjiro's ultimate weakness, is his inability to control his emotion.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see Denjiro more of like a brawler, but I don't know if that necessarily fits his personality type, considering he's like the hide in the shadows kind of guy.
Yeah, definitely, but like he's got that rage. Like we've seen the rage, and that's a detriment to your fighting ability as well.
Hey, but we've also seen feats that Denjiro can control it, because for 20 years he put on a disguise to hide his rage.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think that it's uncontrollable. I think that is just something that he probably has to work on, but he's still gonna be formidable. Like he's still, again, he effortlessly clashed with Zoro.
Yeah,
so
he's very strong. I would agree with
yeah.
you. I think Kinemon's pretty strong too. I can see why like his powers and his fighting technique were like sandbagged all this time, because we never got Kanjuro in it or Kinemon in a serious fight.
Right.
I mean, it would be nice to see. I can't wait. I hope he's like super powerful, and I'd love to actually see him get his moment.
Okay, so next topic, the Beast Pirates structure, like the army structure, military structure. You wanna go over that, Adam?
Yeah, I wrote this down in the notes. I touched on earlier. I imagine the Beast Pirates are only together because it's based off of power. So they're all looking for power, as we've seen with like the horns and the waiters and the pleasures and just the whole structure of the group, and especially the Toby Roppo talking amongst themselves. I'd like to imagine that the only reason that Kaido has his followers is because Kaido gives them power, and by giving them power he gains their loyalty, and by gaining their loyalty and giving them power he only gets stronger.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if those horns are actually just like for show, kind of like medallions, like rewards for joining him, and he bestows them as a gift to his crew once they reach a certain level.
I think that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. I like to also imagine that the color of the horns signifies what type of devil fruit they have. So we can see like the Toby Roppo have like big horns, much bigger than like the horns of the headliners or the gifters, for instance.
And Jack has humongous horns, like even bigger than the Toby Roppo.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, King and Queen, as far as I remember, don't have horns. But maybe they came to Kaido, as we suspect with X Drake, before, like, after they already had their powers. So they didn't need Kaido to bestow power on them. They follow him for another reason.
I'm looking at images of King, and he does have horns. That kind of, yeah, he has horns. He's got like 1, 2, 3. He's got 7 horns. So like they kind of look like spikes coming out of a face mask.
I remember the studs. Yeah, I just don't remember him having distinct horns.
Yeah, so they might be studs on his helmet, or they might be horns. Queen definitely does not have horns.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of King now. It looks like, no, I don't think those are horns. I think those are just studs coming out of the face mask. However, like the two protrusions at the sides look like they could be horns.
Right, yeah, the two protrusions on the sides are the ones that look the most like horns. I'm sending you a picture right now. This is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I noticed that they both have very similar suits. Maybe it's because they're part of like a assassin clan. Yeah, so Magellan and King, their outfits are very similar. King and Shiryu's outfits are very similar. It could be that King was a jailer at Enos Lobby at one point in time. Not Enos Lobby.
Marineford?
No, it's not Marineford. It's the prison. Impel
Impel
Down.
Down, duh.
Yeah, so the suits they wear are very similar. However, I think King still is of like an undescribed race, and that's why he's in all the bondage gear.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, their power structure is pretty interesting for the Beast Pirates. It does seem like he's using power as a bait to control his pirates. So there's like disorder, but there's order in that disorder.
I think at the end of the day, everybody respects power, and unless you have power in the Beast Pirates, you gain no respect. And Kaido has the most power, that's why they all respect him. But I also feel like this is very similar to the way that it was pointed out that Rox's crew was structured too.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I think that this is kind of the closest to Rox D. Zebek's crew because it's just more about having a power structure, and it's kind of like it's more of a power structure than that's like the hierarchy based off of power more than anything else.
Yeah, like I don't even think Kaido doesn't even bother to learn the names of like his subordinates.
Right.
I would imagine that Kaido, he doesn't care about your name, he only cares about your number.
Your number or your rank. Oh, you're Jack, okay. You're king, okay. You're not whatever your name is, you are king now. Or you are queen now.
Yeah, that's your rank. Like, unless you have a title, you're worthless. That's why they're all vying for power.
And it's much easier to remember those ranks than it is to remember each individual name.
Yeah, and I find it very interesting that, like, Oda, when calling back to, like, the Beast Pirates crew structure, like, he showed us, like, all these individual horns. I think one of the tells for the Beast Pirates, for these revolutionaries that are coming in, all disguised as Beast Pirates, is the fact that they all have horns, but they don't have smile devil fruits, and most of them don't even have devil fruits at all. So maybe when they all get drunk, they all like to show off their powers to each other, like, oh, look at how strong I am, I'm a rhinoceros smile kind of thing. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I'm actually looking back, and the Kinemon disguises, everyone does have horns, and they're different. Like, Luffy has white horns, and Nami has black horns. And Brook only has one horn. Chopper only has one horn.
Oof. Yeah, they're waiters, I think. No. Waiters are the lowest level, so the waiters don't have horns. The pleasures have one horn, I believe.
Which is funny because both Chopper and Brook have devil fruits, and Nami and Zoro don't, and Sanji don't, but those three all have two horns.
Yeah, the pleasures have one horn. I think it's going to be a really interesting tell. I think that's an easy way for Oda to write it into the story, that they could tell these rebels easily, so it's not totally quite a sneak attack.
Yeah, if you go to that page in the manga where it shows DJ Apu, they actually have like a puppeteering show where it shows what I'm assuming is Kaido in dragon form and Lord Orochi in snake form, because it's got like a bunch of little snake heads facing a giant dragon.
Yeah, it's almost like the Chinese New Year festivals they have where the people get in the big dragon costumes.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm wondering the significance. Yeah, it's just maybe their version of it.
They're the ones with the power, though.
Right,
So
exactly.
why not, like, look at Orochi's devil form, too. Like, his devil fruit form. He has horns.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would totally party with the Beast Pirates. It actually looks like a great time. Like, I would have a lot of fun.
You would die!
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be strong enough, obviously, but in terms of, like, it would be fun to party there.
Think of all the sake they're gonna leave for the Straw Hats and company.
Yo, in that like double page panel where it shows the waiters, pleasures, and gifters, it shows on the right side, they're all cheering, saying like, yay, Funky Onigashima. And it shows a beast pirate who's a giraffe. There's a giraffe in there, dude. I'm wondering if that is...
Yeah, he's got horns on his head.
He's got horns. So do you think that that's the CP9 guy? What's his name?
No, I don't think that's Kaku. Like, Kaku, the way that we saw him is he was very, like, square and, like, edgy, not in personality, but his character design.
Oh, yeah.
Especially his nose. Like, he had Usopp's block nose. I like to imagine that maybe because Vegapunk was associated with the world government and the world government's associated with like the CP0 and the CP9. Perhaps maybe Vegapunk got like a template for Kaku's devil fruit.
Yeah, that could be it, and that's how they got another giraffe. Or maybe it's just the nature of creating fake devil fruits. You just take what you have available around you, and you're able to create a devil fruit from it.
Yeah, notice how in the next panel we also see a wolf too. We see a wolf smile user. Jabra was a wolf as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. And there's a monkey, a gorilla, I should say. Oh, hey, actually, you know what? The giraffe guy, and that he's right next to the wolf. You see him an elongated giraffe neck, but then he has a human head and arms. I think it's the same guy, right?
That is absolutely terrifying. I think it might be. That is absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, I think it's the same guy.
Like even the gorilla, if you look closely, you see that there's a girl's torso sticking out of this gorilla's torso.
Oh, you're right. You're totally right.
And the guy on all the way to the left is a rhinoceros.
Yeah. And actually above the rhino, I think I see crab pinchers.
Yeah, they look like crab claws. We've already seen that guy though, remember? He attacked Wano. He was like one of the first smile users we saw, and he just had like this big crab claw. Nice.
So yeah, anyway, some really interesting beast pirates we're gonna be fighting against soon. It's gonna be a fun arc, I think. I just want the battle to start. Like I'm just so antsy for it. I know that we're likely not gonna start in the near future, but like once it happens, like we're building up for it, and like I am just ready for it.
I think the rate we're going, we're gonna have like 3 straight months of just fights in One Piece. It's gonna be awesome. Again, I'm just biding my time. I don't want to wish for it to come sooner because I just want to sit and like savor this story, and I like being in suspense and thinking about what's gonna happen.
Yeah, not me. I want it to happen. I want everything to be released right now. I want the story to be finished. I want to read it all.
Yeah, dude. But then it's like, you ever binge a series in like a week and then you're sad at the end of it because you realize there's no more left?
Okay, but also when One Piece is over, regardless of not binging it, I'm going to be sad.
Oh yeah, dude. Me too.
That's just like a common thing, dude. Like even when I read a book, like once I finish a book, I'm sad that like it's over. Like I just want to keep.
The only solution is to stop reading. No, in all seriousness.
Nope.
I read it because I love it. I just want it to last as long as possible. I don't want Oda to be rushed. I don't want his editors to have any influence. One Piece is good because of Oda and because the way Oda writes everything and sets everything up and all the backstories and all the fine little details and nuance. That's all Oda. That's not his editors, and that's why I read One Piece.
Yeah, and I think that we're at the point where Shonen Jump trusts Oda to the point where he has full control. I think that they would be silly not to allow that for him.
I think to a certain point, that's why it always gets me scared whenever like you see the editors come out and they're like, One Piece is 60% done, and I'm like, nah, dude. Like, you guys want the story to be over, or you want to keep it around to milk it as much as possible. I want I want One Piece to be finished when Oda says it's over. I don't want it to get the same treatment as Bleach or Naruto where it's rushed, and I hope that doesn't happen. I hope Oda has enough respect within Shueisha in which he doesn't get that treatment.
I don't know about Naruto, but Bleach is a different situation for sure. Because Kubo did not like writing plot. He liked drawing cool things, drawing cool art, cool attacks, cool abilities, cool characters. He did not care to write plot. And that's why like him and his editors got like in a scuffle because they wanted more plot, and he's like, well, this is what you're getting from me. Accept it or move on. And that's kind of why Bleach ended the way it did. Like that's why it peaked so early, was because, yeah, I mean, to your point, like they were trying to force something out of him that he wasn't ready for, but also like he himself does not like writing plot.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is there was like a 3-month period a couple years ago in which like 4 high-profile manga series in Shonen Jump, Bleach and Naruto and the cooking
Toriko.
one. Yeah, Toriko were all ended. Like, I would imagine if the authors had say in it, like, their series would have ended differently. And again, Kubo would have stopped writing. But I just want Oda to be free of that influence so that...
But Naruto felt natural, dude. That was a natural ending. If anything, I felt like Naruto was dragged on too long. Same with Bleach.
Honestly, I'm still a little sad. Yeah, Bleach definitely dragged on towards the end of it. I'm just still worked up over Naruto that I waited like 10 years just to have like 3 episodes or chapters of Naruto and Sasuke having that battle again. I wanted it to last longer, and I wanted them to talk more, and no, I'm not watching Boruto for that kind of crap.
I think that it would have been worse quality if it lasted longer. I think that it would have gone downhill some, because if you don't have, again, like with Bleach, if you don't have material, you're not going to be able to produce quality content, and you have to be inspired.
I understand that, and I get that. No, and I get that, and I want Oda to be free and stay inspired to write One Piece the way that he wants to without any outside influence. That's all I want, man.
Yeah.
So again, I just wanted to like reiterate so that when you see in the news and there's all these other people saying how long One Piece is going to last for, like, I want Oda to be the one who tells us. I don't want all these other people who maybe we've heard of, but you know, they don't have as much connection to us in the story as Oda does, telling us these things.
Sure.
Cool. And with that being said, I'm pretty much have this episode summed up. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. And we're going to be on break next week as a podcast. We're going to be on break. So we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Remember, you can catch us on Instagram, on Twitter. We're on Spotify, iTunes. If you have any questions, you can email us at thevoidcenturypodcast@gmail.com. And thank you for sailing with us.
Bye, guys.
Bye.